You're listening to Biz-Souls, the business podcast with an edge, hosted by me, Rona Lewis, and Jeffrey Hansler. Tune in for perspectives and discoveries about the changing world of business. It's time to connect to the heart, soul, and humor of how business gets done. It's time for another exciting episode of Biz-Souls. I'm Rona Lewis.
I'm Jeffrey Hansler, and we get to the heart and soul of business and the people who make it happen.
Correct. Thank you for correcting that. Yes. And what are we talking about today?
So we're talking about the most wasted resource within a company. And it's also the most valuable resource.
On the table. Right.
It's almost the most valuable resource. And we're going to specifically talk, and we're going to relate it how companies that are complaining about not being innovative or have tried to be innovative and have failed, how they are their own worst enemy. And it falls in leadership's lap.
So you're keeping us on the edge of our seat. What is the biggest wasted asset that companies have?
People.
Get out.
I know. You would think that they would understand it. And it stems from, there are a bunch of contributing factors to this. And what we have to do is it's got to be a social cultural shift.
Right.
And, if you go into Fox News, you hear these guys talking about, they've got black people going, hey, this DEI stuff isn't working. And it's a shame that they're politicizing it that way, because DEI can't work if you're not utilizing your people. It doesn't matter how much diversity you have within the organization if you're not utilizing your people. And so while they're bringing people in and they're diversifying their workforce, they're still not utilizing it.
Well, and I think it all, and we've talked about this a lot of times, it all boils down to psychological safety and being able to get these people engaged and comfortable being uncomfortable, with change, with the fact that not everyone is going to be like them and think like them and come at things from the same angle, because then you'll have groupthink. Right.
Who's the lady? It says she was a social media star, and she pretended to be the mother of these kids. She just went to jail because she acted like she was all great on them. And then she just got so comfortable with the camera running and things going that she started to show her real behavior toward the kids on it.
Oh,
and the kids were terrified.
Octomom?
Yeah, it could be.
Or
maybe it was.
The not the Dunphys. That's my sister-in-law's last name.
It doesn't matter.
Dunbar's done something. They had like 14 kids or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And they were all, dressed the nine. They all looked great.
Right.
And it was all about, and that frames the problem of leadership. So leadership says they want to create psychologically safe place until somebody comes out with an idea that disagrees with them. And then all of a sudden, hey, you need to get removed. So they're talking out of the side of their mouth, and they're not truly believing in a culture. They're so interested in perks and parking spots. Right. Which is one thing about Elon. Again, man crush on Elon. He doesn't have special parking plots.
Right.
He gets, he just happens to be the first person to work all day, or he never leaves or something. So he's always got the prime spot, or a lot he has.
He's got a king-size 4-poster bed in the back office.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the problem. So contributing factors toward the problem. First of all, one of it is, people talk about teams, and they put teams together, and then management will come in after the team has worked on it, and then management makes a decision, often arbitrary of what the team is. And so they're not arbitrarily.
Okay.
Yeah. Did I skip several syllables in there? Okay.
Okay.
And
I am here to translate for you guys. He will speak.
2 syllables.
I will translate. Right.
2 syllables sounds like. And
he just gets very excited, so skips words because he wants to get to the point. I appreciate that.
I do. And it's the same thing. So they're putting on a front. They're going through the motions without actually truly believing in the power of it. They haven't committed to it all the way.
Right.
It's kind of like it's almost like they're doing a trust fall, except they won't trust fall. They've got every excuse in the world not to trust fall.
Well, and they are so focused on the things that are at the top level that they have no idea what their employees are actually doing.
Right. Right, exactly. And here's an example of the disconnect. So CBS just came out with it, our guest, and they took it from one of the articles, probably from Harvard Business Review. And again, Harvard Business Review, and there are multiple articles over the years on this, not just from Harvard Business, other organizations, Training Magazine, ATD, things like that.
Point.
The point, executives don't feel that their training investment is worth it. It's being, and there's quoting stats at less than they get a return on less than 25% of their training. That's assuming you're trying to give the ROI thing, which is a big joke anyway.
I think we actually talked about that in an earlier.
Of course,
podcast.
I always talk about that. The Phillips are very nice people, great. They've sold one book 30 different titles, and it's all about the same. It's the Phillips. Anyway. So what's going on is the training is wasted because it's not connected to the work, or they're not given the opportunity to do the work. So they're basically, I think executives are they're continuing to look at people as cogs in the wheel still.
Yes. And, to that point, I love TV.
Right.
And on Apple TV, there's a great show called For All Mankind. And it's science fiction based on history, where the Russians are getting into space first, and it starts in the 60s and works all the way up. And now, where they are now, where I am, they're on Mars, and the people who are commanding the Mars colony have no idea what the lower levels, who are basically fixing things and making sure that they can breathe and run everything. They're very unhappy, and upper management doesn't care, doesn't look at them. They'll be fine. New management just came in and said, there's a lot of discontent that we're not paying attention to. And the old guard is like, they'll be fine. They're just here for 2 years, and they're not realizing that they are the people that keep everything together. And I think that parallels upper management and employees in our corporate system today.
Right. Absolutely. And I'm speaking slower because Rona wrote down, slow down.
I did, just because I want to enunciate.
I'm going to continue going forward.
Do you remember the episode of Taxi where Jim was taking a test, his driver's test, and he was asking for an answer, and one of the guys was helping them, and he kept saying and the answer was slow. What happens at a yellow light? What are you supposed to do? So the other guy says, slow down. What is, and he starts asking the question slower. It was hysterical. Anyway, I digress once again because the memory pops up.
Very good.
Okay.
I have totally forgot what I was talking about. It's not just maintaining. See, that's the problem, the mindset. Mm-hmm. So in that movie you just talked about, or the show that you just talked about, they're the ones who keep everything humming.
Right.
They're the thing. That's the problem. This is why companies, this is the disconnect, is it's not just about maintaining things. The people on the front line are the very people that can also make it more efficient, find better ways to do it, except they can't because they're afraid of losing their job. Hey, if I make it more efficient, then they may fire me because of the disconnect. It's a domino effect of fear.
Right. Well, that's why the government, years and years ago, there was a discovery of how to recycle tires that you could put on the road, on sidewalks, and it expanded and contracted so you wouldn't get cracks. And the government didn't want to do it. Because it would put people out of work, because it lasted longer, so the roads would be okay. So that's why they stopped it.
Sorry about
Commercial
that.
break. Okay.
Commercial break. Yes. Let's go to a break.
So what happens is bureaucracy, I think, gets in the way, where they think it will be better. It's like with AI, people are worried about losing their jobs when there are going to be a plethora of new jobs that come in, because there's always new ways of getting people to work. There's no way AI is going to take over everything. So
you never know. AI might take
and
over
people,
everything.
way to be positive.
No, I am positive on that, because then we more people, if AI is doing the basics, the work that people don't want to do,
Right.
then we can focus on doing the work we want to do.
Right.
If as long as
That
everybody has
evidently
the tools
all
for
the
it.
illegal aliens are doing when they come in. That's what I've been told.
Well, yeah, they do a lot of work because they're willing to take anything,
Right.
and to them, making the wages they're making here and the opportunities they have here, that's better. I mean, my dad came here because he was an immigrant.
Yes, but he wasn't an illegal alien.
No, he wasn't illegal. He came here legally. Yes, of course.
Anyway, we digress again.
So the solution really is, and this is where leadership needs to work, is first of all, they have to let go of this artifact that they have all the answers. And I
Right.
don't think they can. I think that is the problem. And I think that a lot of people that are successful within companies have a basic insecurity. They're not comfortable in their own skin. And because of that, they have difficulty doing it. Not all of them. Richard Anderson at Delta Airlines was very comfortable in his skin. Ed Bastian is not comfortable in his skin. And he's just making mistake after mistake. He's upset his customers. He broke the promises Richard Anderson made. And so you have to be comfortable. And so that should be the work and more executives should be going to classes. They think, oh, I'm the executive, I don't need to go, about getting comfortable in their own skin.
Well, and yes, there needs to be a middle ground between imposter syndrome, which actually affects more women than men, and men get it too, and then the Dunning-Kruger effect,
right.
where if for those of you who don't know what it is, it's having an inflated sense of self where people think they know more than they actually do, which
often
is
the person
just as
that
bad.
knows the least is the one most confident in their in what they're saying and what they're proposing.
So there has to be a middle ground between it. You want to check your ego and allow for other people's opinion, being confident in knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know.
Check your fire. That's from Platoon. Anyway,
okay.
You said check. Anyway, okay.
I say a lot of things, but
yeah, well, that's good. And now, if they can do that, then they can put together teams. And this is where the DEI is going to come in and be valuable. And actually, you're going to get a payout on it, is putting together these teams and give them interesting things to do it. Now, and the second thing is that's going to be engaging to people. Not only are they doing the cog work that they're doing, and that's why AI fits in. So for somebody who's writing marketing copy, right? They used to take them all day to write marketing copy.
Sure.
Now with AI, they might be able to write it in 4 hours. So what do we do the 4 hours? Do we get rid of the marketing people to cut costs? No, you should then take those free 4 hours and allow them to spend on a team for doing an innovative, solving a problem, cutting a cost, doing something new to the organization.
Yeah, it's like the 80-20 Google rule.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get a lot of, and it works with everything we know about the brain.
You could give them playtime and allow them to play with ideas.
What a concept!
What a concept! I don't know where it came from.
And that's
I'm brilliant. Just ask me.
So we have to look at work differently. Just because somebody's not doing the nuts and bolts of what they were hired for, this is when you can take their knowledge and their familiarity with the rest of the company and the operations and things that they see. Because people in one department will see something being done in another department that doesn't make sense to them. If they had a chance to talk about it, they might be able to come up with a better solution.
Sure.
And so this is why this is the single most important resource is people. And they haven't been utilized effectively in the past. And I think that should be the mantra for businesses going forward. How to use your people better, or even, in associations and volunteer groups and nonprofits, all of them, they can use teams of volunteers, or what do you call them, interns, things like that, and put them together and get their ideas and get them involved. And then that could be part of the educational system.
I think interns are a widely underused resource because they have fresh eyes, and people don't listen because they feel they have a lack of experience. And sometimes a lack of experience is exactly what you need to get new ideas because they're not trained out of them.
And instead of throwing money at universities, and trying to buy their, backing or something like that, they should invest their money in connecting with the university and getting people involved, and then listen to the people when they come on if they don't agree with it. If somebody's on it, and I'm sorry, if somebody is on a committee or an intern and they're working on their master's in chemical engineering or chemical science, and they see a problem with a pharmaceutical or something like that, then they instead of shutting them down and saying, oh, we can't do that, you listen to them, and they'll come out with better products, and they'll have. And look at Johnson & Johnson; they're just getting slammed because they've got this culture of trying to hide things, and they've just done another misstep. And yeah. So anyway,
and it's also hard for companies to take a step back when they've put a lot of research and development into something that they can see is not really working, for them to stop,
right?
Because it's cutting your losses, and how much, when do you do that? So anyway.
And this ties into, this innovative idea would tie into prison systems. Like, for example, I just saw on the news, there's, some of the sentences are beginning for the people on the January 6th incident. And why throw them in jail? They're not criminals that way. Why not make them work for government? That's their penalty. They have to work for no pay to do something with government. In the same way that somebody who's protested against animal rights, and instead of throwing them in jail, have them work on a farm, put them to work for a while. That would be their sentence. And so what you're doing is you're educating them to the other side. What are you looking at?
Put them on a kibbutz, because they're all...
There you go. There you go.
So they'll learn how to work with people, as opposed to, because they're all, but none of them are anti-Semites.
And you expand this idea and you take it down to the homeless situation. Instead of giving them stuff, which allows them to continue with the habit of, and for some, I'm not talking about people for crisis. I'm talking about the habitually homeless and even the mentally ill, though. If you change the mentally ill, this is a global statement. I'm going to get so much backlash on this.
You don't want to make it too over. You don't want to overstate it too much. Some of them don't want to be rescued.
Look, some of them don't want to be rescued, and what we're doing is enabling them to continue
their
with
lifestyle.
That. Yeah, and so I think we approach our idea about it and focus. If we focus on engagement and we focus on trying to give them education and show them attention and trying to show people different perspectives and add critical thinking to them, I think it's going to change the way things happen.
I think that is a very difficult thing to do, especially with the bureaucracy in government, especially local government. And what I've seen in Los Angeles, which is one of the reasons that I moved to Redondo, which is about 20 miles south from where I was, is that I found that the overarching government has no idea what the rest is doing, and they're not utilizing resources like empty buildings or motels, hotels that have gone out of business, and repurpose them for at least temporary housing until these people can get back on their feet again. And there are ways to do it that people don't want to do, or not in my backyard, NIMBY.
Right.
And people have to say, or government has to say, too bad, this is what's happening. I don't care how much you paid for your house. This is what's available because you live close to the beach. You're in Brentwood, you're in Santa Monica, and they're raising prices so much that businesses can't afford to stay in business. So we are going to utilize this.
Yeah.
So lower your prices so that businesses can thrive, or we're going to use it for this. There are things to do.
I'm a firm believer in capitalism, and in a capitalist society, I think businesses are more innovative because of that drive to be profitable. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I can't understand why they miss this. So it's not just government. I mean, you were talking about government being disconnected. I would expect more of business leaders, that they get connected and they be more innovative in their structure and their operations, about how they put people together and how they get these people to communicate and how they assign projects and allow them to work on these projects.
So I'm assuming we're not talking about the homeless anymore, because...
No, the homeless was an example of a problem in society that if government treated it differently, and communicated with people and tried to build teams and tried to get them engaged in solving the problem, trying to get them engaged in covering some of the costs for it, trying to get them engaged in reducing the cost to the taxpayers, then that's the same approach businesses should use. That's what businesses are trying to do. How do we solve our issues and our problems, the problems that we're managing? How do we solve them and save money in the future so that we can either build better products or supply a better service or supply the product at a cheaper price to the consumers that want it? Right. So all of this is all tied to economics. And the same with the situation with the government. And you said government is disconnected from it, and it's going to be very difficult for them to do. I agree. Businesses could lead the way, and then they could show that it works, and then maybe government, whatever that you want to call our elected. It's so difficult on elected officials. They're elected spawn.
An opinion.
No, they're failing their constituents.
Okay.
And it's obvious.
Okay. And we're going, and my dog is here. We are going off the.
No, we're not.
Well, it's we had talked about how the employees aren't engaged. So
and
we need
I'm
to get
talking about that's similar. It's a parallel situation. And you said it's unlikely government's going to solve it. And I said, I agree, government, because there's, political leaders are less motivated to do things than our business leaders. And business leaders, though, can show the way and they can show that it works, except the business leaders are also a little too uptight about really trying something new and trying teams. And I understand if you set up teams wrong, which is why we spend so much time working with our clients on teams. If you set up them wrong, or you don't deal with them, or you usurp the whole process of the team exercise, you're not going to get a good result.
Right.
And so it takes a while to learn it, and they're probably going to fail, and then they'll fail, and they have to get used to that failure. Just like, as I said on the last podcast, I had targets that I wanted to achieve this year, and I failed on them. That's just the normal process of trying to get better at something.
There you
anyway.
go. Okay. Any last words on this?
Yeah. Well, if somebody's got different ideas, and we're going to look, because we talked about on one of our last podcasts about being positive, we're going to look for examples of this working successfully, and that's where we're not going to.
Well, like
I think
Ed Catmull was saying in how he has the all employee meeting when they're making movies, so he gets everyone's opinion, so there's no hierarchy.
Right. By the way, I just read an article. I think it was from Inc. magazine. And this writer was writing about Jobs and said Jobs was CEO of Pixar, which I believe is completely. I don't
know
never
that he was
ever. So writers do a better job of doing your research on something like that. So anyway,
right.
Okay, he was just an investor, and he had a lot to say.
He did have a lot to say.
Yeah.
So, all right, that is it for us for today. Let us know your opinions, and if you're listening, if you're watching, hit that subscribe button. We can use you. Tell all your friends.
We can use you?
We can use you. We want to use you as a subscriber. And you get to know.
We would be grateful if you join the podcast.
Please.
No, and subscribe and then pass on the word. And hopefully we'll get some good messages out this year as well.
All right. Yeah, even if you have things you want us to talk about, you want to know our opinions on, we have opinions on everything. Right or wrong, we have opinions on everything.
And if you want to come on as a guest, we'll do
Sure,
it.
why not?
Why not?
As long
Taylor Swift? Yeah, you can come on anytime.
That's his crush. She can do no wrong. Anyway, all right. That is it for us today. I'm Rona Lewis.
I'm Jeffrey Hansler.
And this has been Biz-Souls. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Biz-Souls podcast with your hosts, Rona Lewis and Jeffrey Hansler. Did you have fun? Subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. Talk to you next week.